that Stephanie White is, in fact, trying to turn the Indiana Fever into last year's Connecticut Sun. Stephanie White let it slip. She said she wanted to, let Caitlin be Caitlin. And it is very clear her offensive philosophy. It is very clear what Stephanie White is trying to do.
When Stephanie White walked back through the doors of Gainbridge Fieldhouse as the Indiana Fever's head coach, it felt like destiny. An Indiana native, former Purdue star, and the woman who had already led this franchise to the 2015 WNBA Finals, what could go wrong?
Coaches, Stephanie White and Christy Sides. It's hard to believe we're even bringing up Christy Sides' name, but that's where we are. Why? Because we got Fever fans that are missing her. Last Christy Sides was let go, and we thought we were sold a bill of goods that Stephanie White was going to be this up.
The hiring was met with universal acclaim. Fans celebrated, analysts praised the move, and even the most skeptical observers nodded in approval. White looked like the perfect addition to a Fever team that had just landed the most hyped rookie in WNBA history.
It is very, very clear what Stephanie White is trying to do with this team. And what she's trying to do with this team is she wants them to turn into she wants them to be old WNBA. She wants them to be old WNBA. And she wants the team to be what she had success with in Connecticut. She doesn't want this team playing fast. She wants them.
But here we are, and the honeymoon phase is officially over. What started as a dream scenario has devolved into a nightmare, and Fever fans are making their voices heard in ways that would make a buzzer-beater crowd seem quiet.
All right, Fever fans, it's time to have a very difficult conversation. One that we don't really want to talk about. The question is, what are we going to do about Stephanie White? A lot of you were screaming, get rid of Christy Sides. For Stephanie White, you were happy, you were excited, you were stoked. But I think Stephanie White has a lot to do with this team's failure.
Let's talk about what really broke the camel's back, the Duana Bonner situation. White brought in this two-time WNBA champion, this veteran presence who was supposed to be the missing piece. Bonner was meant to provide leadership, championship experience, and a steady hand for a young roster built around Caitlin Clark. Instead, what we got was a coaching staff that bent over backward to accommodate a player who ultimately had no interest in being there.
And I'm talking about being happy personally. Like, I want her to be happy personally. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. It's a different group. While system might still be very similar, it's a different group, and things are happening quickly. And
I cannot believe, I mean this when I say this, I cannot believe the Indiana Fever had what was the best offense in the WNBA post-Olympic break and hired the coach with the worst offense in the WNBA to bring the worst offensive system to the best offensive team. What are we doing? Again, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Stephanie
White changed her entire offensive system to try to fit Bonner into the team. She moved away from the high-octane, Clark-centric offense that had made the Fever appointment television and instead installed a more traditional system that supposedly suited Bonner's veteran sensibilities. The result? A complete disaster. Bonner started just 3 of her 9 games, averaged a measly 7.1 points per game, and then vanished for personal reasons before ultimately requesting her release.
They need to hire an NBA coach like Mark Jackson. And I became the Leo DiCaprio meme holding the beer and the cigarette pointing at the TV because when Christy Sides got fired last year, I said, hire Mark Jackson or Larry Bird. You need a National Basketball Association male coach in there that doesn't give a rip what any of these other women in this league think. Doesn't have a connection to them. None of that, but has a connection to Indiana, obviously a deep-seated one. Both have coached. Both have done well. Larry's getting long in the tooth. I get it, but he could probably do it for a couple of years. My point was a couple of years, similar style to Caitlin Clark's play, and get her into the over the hump of the trials and tribulations of being in a professional.
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. But here's where it gets really ugly. Now Stephanie White is stuck playing a system that literally doesn't revolve around Caitlin Clark. The woman who was supposed to be the franchise cornerstone, the generational talent who sells out arenas and breaks television viewership records, is being forced to operate within constraints designed for a player who quit on the team. The numbers don't lie, and they're telling a story that should terrify every Fever fan. Clark is averaging 18.2 points and 8.9 assists per game this season. Solid numbers, but not the MVP caliber performance everyone expected. More concerning is what we're seeing on the court. Clark, who thrived in college by taking over games with her lethal three-point shooting and court vision, is being asked to operate as a facilitator first and scorer second.
Stephanie White has ruined, flat out ruined this once great, electrifying, must-see TV Indiana Fever offense. There's no more excuses. It is what it is. But now, it doesn't work. She has broken this offense. I don't know if this is a sabotage job. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand how we went from literally the fastest offense to the slowest to second slowest team in the league. I don't understand how we get 2 fast break points in a game. I don't understand how we have 11 fast break points.
This isn't the Caitlin Clark we know. This isn't the player who could single-handedly will teams to victory with logo three-pointers and impossible passes. Instead, we're watching a constrained version of greatness, a player being asked to fit into a system rather than having the system built around her. Former WNBA executive Lynn Dunn didn't mince words when she blasted White for holding Caitlin Clark back, arguing that the coach and her star player have fundamentally different understandings of the sport. When basketball minds with decades of experience are calling out your coaching philosophy, it's time to pay attention.
The pace is too slow. They're doing set play. They're walking up the court. Last year, if you remember, Christie had them running up and down the court. I was one of those people last year in the beginning of the season. I said, Christie Sides got to go. I didn't like the way she managed the game. But when she made it to the playoffs, I thought she deserves another shot with new personnel. I think this team might be better with this skill, with this team, these skilled players, and Christie Sides. Because Christie Sides...
This was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's MVP season. The betting odds had her as the preseason favorite. The expectations were sky high, and rightfully so. Instead, we're watching a player who can't stay healthy, battling through quad strains and groin injuries that have kept her out of crucial games. 6 games missed this season, 6 games of a player who had never missed a game in her entire college career. The timing is suspicious, the frequency is alarming, and the pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Clark's latest groin injury came with just 12 seconds left in a game the Fever had already won against Seattle. Why was she even on the court in garbage time? That's a coaching decision, and it directly led to Clark getting hurt. The most frustrating part? White's response to these injuries has been tone-deaf at best. When asked about Clark's groin injury, White admitted she found out late last night and then repeatedly said she stays in her lane when it comes to medical decisions. The lack of urgency, the apparent disconnect from her star player's health status, it's all painting a picture of a coach who's not in control of her team.
We also have questions about, well, was this whole thing mismanaged from the get-go? And I'm talking about the original quad injury, right? Never mind the Stephanie White's style of play. That's clearly not fitting with the personnel. That's not working. So, a byproduct of Stephanie White's latest shortcomings, and yeah, they won the game last night, but they almost blew it in the fourth quarter, just like they blew the game against the Sparks the night before in the fourth quarter. The Fever should have 2 straight victories right now, easily. Actually, 3, because they beat the Storm. They should be on a 3-game heater right.
Meanwhile, the league continues to fail in protecting its biggest star. Caitlin Clark has been on the receiving end of flagrant fouls, cheap shots, and physical play that would make an NHL enforcer blush. The Connecticut Sun game perfectly encapsulated the problem. After Clark took a hit to the face and was subsequently knocked down, she was the one who received a technical foul. Stephanie White has spoken out about the officiating, but her words ring hollow when her own coaching decisions are putting Clark in harm's way. Bad officiating is bad officiating, White said after the Sun incident, but what about bad coaching? What about the failure to protect your star player through strategic substitutions and game management? Sophie Cunningham, acting as Clark's on-court protector, has had to take matters into her own hands, warning referees that she'll step in if they won't protect Clark. When your players are having to issue ultimatums to officials because the coaching staff can't keep their star players safe, something is fundamentally broken.
There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. You know, I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of.
The Indiana Fever sit at 8-8 third in the Eastern Conference, a record that screams mediocrity in the loudest possible way. This is a team that added significant talent in the offseason, retained their core pieces, and brought in a proven coach. Instead of taking the next step toward championship contention, they're treading water. The franchise has regressed from their playoff appearance last season, and the eye test is even worse than the record suggests. The Fever are 2-4 in their last 6 games, including embarrassing losses to inferior teams. They're blowing leads, failing to execute in crunch time, and showing a complete lack of identity on both ends of the floor. When you have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, an all-star center in Aaliyah Boston, and a roster built to complement their skills, 8-8 isn't just disappointing, it's an indictment of the coaching staff's ability to maximize talent.
I don't understand. And it don't take a genius to figure out the formula in which we was running. We was running and gunning, playing fast. Stephanie White, again, we wanted no parts of your Connecticut offense. No parts of it. We wanted the defense. That's it. That's it. And at this point, I am missing Christy Sides, guys. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Once Christy Sides figured out that she needed to play Caitlin's style and let Caitlin do Caitlin, things was running well. I got to be honest with you. And it was must-see television. Must-see television.
The cracks are showing, and they're getting wider by the day. Sophie Cunningham's post-game comments after the latest loss to the Sparks were particularly revealing. "We have our own islands. As one of the leaders of the team, I got to do a better job of grouping people, islands, in a locker room. That's not the language of a team that's unified and fighting for a common goal. That's the language of a fractured group that's struggling to find its identity under a coaching staff that's failing to provide direction." "No one likes us," Cunningham continued, acknowledging that the Fever are circled on everybody's schedule. While that should be motivating, great teams thrive on being everyone's best shot. It's clear this Fever team is wilting under the pressure rather than rising to meet it. The pressure isn't just on Stephanie White. The entire front office structure that made the decision to hire her is now under scrutiny. This was supposed to be the organization's championship window, the perfect storm of talent, experience, and opportunity. Instead, they're watching their investment crumble in real time.
Sophie Cunningham goes in the post-game press conference and confirms what we've all known all along. This locker room is split, and she uses the term different islands going on in this locker room. It turns out that Christy Sides and all of those toilet paper mummy activities, all those scavenger hunt activities, the wiffle ball coming back from the Olympic break, it turned out that those stupid games actually played a big part along with Erica Wheeler's veteran leadership, keeping this locker room, keeping this team together. We got no Erica Wheeler. We got no Christy Sides, the chaperone. We got none of that. And Sophie Cunningham confirms what we've all...
The Duana Bonner signing was a disaster from day one. The failure to build a system that maximizes Caitlin Clark's talents is organizational malpractice. The inability to keep their star player healthy through proper game management is a coaching failure that reflects on the entire basketball operations department. Kelly Krauskopf, the president of basketball operations who championed White's hiring, is now facing questions about whether she made the right choice. When you have a generational talent like Clark, there's no room for error. Every decision, every system, every player acquisition should be made with one question in mind. Does this help Caitlin Clark dominate basketball games? Here's the uncomfortable truth that Fever fans are finally starting to accept. Stephanie White's system doesn't work with this roster. The high assist, motion-heavy offense that worked with her Connecticut Sun teams doesn't translate to a team built around a dynamic scorer like Clark.
The case may be, this team is looking like it's out of control. We got DeWanna Bonner missing in action. Fans putting out missing posters of her. She's unfollowing people, pretty much deleting all of her Indiana Fever posts. It's looking freaking spooky. Now, I've been wanting to try to give them a benefit of the doubt, bro. Lynn Dunn, Stephanie White, the whole front office, even Kelly Cristobal. I thought they really had some things going when they brought in DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham. I mean, these are key players. Even Sid Coulson. I just expected way more out of this team, and I'm here to tell you, this is not...
White came in preaching about pace, perimeter shooting, and defensive toughness. Instead, the Fever are playing slower basketball, taking worse shots, and failing to create the easy scoring opportunities that should come naturally when you have a player of Clark's caliber running the show. The most damning evidence? Clark and Alea Boston look their best when they ignore the system entirely and just play basketball. The Fever are allowing 79.7 points per game, which isn't terrible, but they're not generating the stops they need in crucial moments. More importantly, they're not protecting their star player from the physical play that's becoming a trademark of games involving Clark. Most critically, the coaching staff needs to prioritize Clark's health and availability above all else. No more playing in garbage time. No more extended minutes in meaningless stretches. The franchise's future depends on keeping Clark healthy and productive.
This year, Stephanie White overmanages. She micromanages. And she likes pace. Christy Sides didn't give a damn about pace. They were the fastest team in the WNBA. Do we give Stephanie a second look? Because I think this season is a failure. I didn't expect them to lose 6 games all year, let alone 6 or 7 games right out.
Here's the reality that should terrify every Fever fan. Championship windows don't stay open forever. Clark is in her prime. Boston is developing into a star. And the supporting cast is as good as it's ever been. But if the coaching staff can't figure out how to maximize this talent, if they can't build a system that puts Clark in position to dominate, then this entire experiment will be remembered as a massive failure. The pressure is mounting, the expectations are clear, and the patience of Fever fans is wearing thin. Stephanie White looked like the perfect choice when she was hired, but perfect choices don't lead to 8-8 records and fractured locker rooms. And based on what we've seen so far, Fever fans have every right to be furious about that possibility. The question isn't whether changes need to be made, it's whether those changes will come before it's too late. Because right now, the Indiana Fever are failing Caitlin Clark, and that's a sin that shouldn't be forgiven.